I mean, of course, we all love winning, but the people that say, hey, I love to win, it seems like sometimes those people are okay with losing.
This is Stay Paid, a sales and marketing podcast on a mission to help you close more deals and retain more business.
Welcome to another episode of Stay Paid. I'm Joshua Stike along with Luke Acree. And before we bring on our guest today, we'd love it if you take a minute to subscribe to Stay Paid on Apple Podcast or Spotify if you're not already subscribed. And while you're there, drop us a review. We'll read it here on the show. Our guest today is David Alvarado. David is an agency owner with Assuria Insurance. We'll find out in a second if I said that right, and has led his team to the top agency in the company for 7 straight years. Considered an expert in advanced sales and retirement solutions, David has created the most agency owners in the company, expanding from Orange County to Riverside, San Diego, Los Angeles, and Phoenix office locations. David, welcome to Stay Paid. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And you did say it right. It's Assura, but we just recently merged over to Symmetry. So
that's right. Yeah.
You know, it's been such a new transition for us, and it's expanded so much. And you know, when you get uncomfortable, you just don't know what to do sometimes. And that expansion, that uncomfortable feeling, and man, it makes you do some wild things.
It does, man. I agree with you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Dude, man, I'm excited to have you. So the audience knows David and I went out on a speaking tour together. This guy is a mega producer in the insurance space, but also an incredible speaker. I was telling Josh before we came on, I said, David has the it factor. Anybody who's been in music, I thought I was going to be a band, growing up. They talk about the it factor. David has it. So he is the practitioner, but he also can teach, and it's super charismatic and captivating. So I'm excited for you guys to get to know him. David, I'd love for you to share, man, just a little bit of your journey, your story of how you got into insurance, and then we'll get into prospecting and attracting talent.
Absolutely. You know, I didn't grow up wanting to be an insurance agent. That's not what was on the vision board. I wanted to have a career in electronics, computers, and programming. I like math. I like problem solving. Computers really interested me as a kid. Got my degree, got a job. And when I saw the guy that was making the most amount of money, I think it was like $35 an hour, and I was making 17, I started getting curious. I was like, if that's my cap, how long am I going to takes me to get there? Well, I started opening my mouth a little bit. I started talking a little too much, and that does not look good in an employee and employer position where I was giving myself more value than what I was getting paid. And the moment things got a little slow, bam, I got let go. And that day was probably the worst day of my life. It felt like, right? I was crying in the parking lot, driving home. And I got a random phone call from somebody that I didn't really like too much. It was a friend, but it was a distant friend. And I was in a vulnerable position, so I answered. And he's like, dude, what are you doing? I said, I'm driving home. I just got laid off. And he's all, well, hey, Dave, listen, I'm in the insurance industry. I'm making pretty good money. Why don't you come check it out? You have nothing to lose. And I said, you're right. I have nothing to lose. I went straight to that office that day, my work clothes, my workman boots. And I had an interview, and they told me, hey, listen, well, we can give you an interview, but you let's go help you go home, change, and come back into business attire. I was there the next day, and boom, I was sold. I was like, wow, this guy, there's a bunch of Mercedes-Benzes outside. Everybody's looking sharp. Everybody's wearing Rolex watches. We're in the AC. I need to be here. I went out to try to get my license, and, that saying when they say, if you don't use it, you lose it. It's so true. I was in college and in high school, I always was able to read the material once and memorize and get an A on the test. Well, it's been 2 years since I even looked at a textbook, and here I go. I'm trying to study for my license. I'm reading through this thing. I'm like, all right, I got this, no problem. I failed my test. Tried again, failed, tried again, failed. And I'm like, what is going on here? Finally, after the 4th time, I go back to all my books. I go to the archives. I open up all these drawers, and I'm like, well, how did I register and remember information like I did before? Well, I had flashcards, highlighters, notebooks, all these things. So there I go. I do it all over again. Highlighters, flashcards, boom, passed my test finally. It literally took me 6 months to pass my test. Most people do not retake a test after the first time they fail.
Right.
Oh, a second. So I get started. I'm excited. I'm hyped up. My first month, I'm doing everything the guy tells me to do. The manager tells me to do, my mentor, and boom, I have the biggest month of my life. I made $4,500 my first month. I was excited. But what happens when you give somebody money that doesn't never had any money? They stop working. That's what they do.
That is so true, man.
I made so much money. I'm good, So the second month, I started walking with a little strut. I started going in the office. I don't have to do it that much. This is easy. I don't got to work that hard. I made a bunch of money. And then the second month, it was like no sale after no sale after no sale after no sale. And it was like 3 weeks in, and I was like, man, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. So I had given myself 6 months in the industry. Like, hey, I'm going to do 6 months of my undivided attention. No, I'm not going to go job hunting. I'm not going to be submitting my resumes. And on month 2, I'm already thinking about quitting. So before I quit, before I said, I'm going to hang up the gloves, I went to the guy that's doing the best in the office and I said, hey, why are you making it and why am I not? And when somebody wants to give you the truth, man, watch out because it hurts. I felt like I got punched in the stomach. It hurt. Because he said, Dave, listen, you show up late, you leave early, you don't do what you're supposed to, you're not following the system, you're not following the scripts, you're negative, and you're sitting down just talking, you're just wasting time. Me, wow. I show up early, I leave late, I memorize the scripts, I follow the system, I make my dials, and if I don't have the results, I continue to work. It doesn't matter if it's Friday, I'll work into Saturday into Sunday. You want to go home early at 6 o'clock on a Wednesday, and you have no results. So I took that information in, and it really hurt to hear that I was not being successful because of me, not because of the system, but because of me. Because in my head, the leads are the problem, right? This industry is the problem. So I went home that day and I said, man, I looked myself in the mirror and I said, Dave, if you're the problem, shame on you. You're already trying to quit. So, I looked myself in the mirror and I said, that's it, Dave. You're committing 100%. You're going to do everything they tell you to do. And if in 6 months from now, you make it, well, congratulations. You have a new career and you're a success story. If you don't, you can always go back to electronics. So I walked in the office on Monday. I go to my manager, back then his name was Sean, and I said, hey, listen, I know I've been a knucklehead. I know I haven't been following the system. And I want to tell you that from this point forward, I am 100% committed to do everything you tell me to do. And I'm going to ask for training. I'm going to ask for mentorship. I'm going to ask for every type of guidance I can, and I need you to help me with that. And if I don't do everything you tell me, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to fire me.
Whoo, extreme ownership, baby.
Yeah. There was no going back. I was burning the ship, right? And then he looks at me and he laughs. He goes, Dave, I was going to fire you this week anyway. And all of a sudden I started getting nervous. My hand starts getting clammy. My face gets white. I say, oh, why? Are you trying? What are you talking about? Listen, Dave, you're negative. You're not making any results. You're proving to everybody else that this business doesn't work. And I don't want to have that in my office. But I'm glad you came to me for one more chance, Dave. I'll mentor you. I will tell you what to do. I'll train you. And if you don't do it, I'm going to fire you, just like you said. Deal. We wrote it down, told me what to do, how many dials I need to do, how many appointments I need to set, how many days I need to dial for, how much study time do I have to do the script. And I just said, okay, I'm doing it. So I took all of that information and I said, I'm doing it. I literally blocked everybody out of my life. My friends, my parents, people that wanted to go to lunch. Nope, I brought my lunch. I'm staying here at the office while I'm working. I'm not going to be distracted. And it was like magic. That same week, where I just went 3 weeks of no sales, 4 sales that week. The next week, 5 sales. The next week, 6 sales. The next week, 4. I became a top producer in that office in less than 3 months after that day. Like 5 months in. 6 months in the business, I bought myself a brand new Lexus. I've never had a Lexus in my life. It's a big deal for a 24-year-old kid. 1 year in the business, I bought a $400,000 house. My dream in high school was to buy a house by the age of 25. I did it by the age of 24 and a half.
Nice, man. And
since then, since that decision to commit, the decision to just learn from others. The decision to say, you know what, I don't know it all. I'm going to learn from people that know better for me has given me so much to gain. I mean, I got married to an amazing wife. I was able to be a top producer in that agency. I came over from that point to Assura, and I became a top producer here. I became an agency owner. I became a top producing agency owner. I produced multiple agency owners from my downline. And today, you know, I've broken 7 figures in this industry, and it hasn't taken me a whole lot to do. It's just helping others become coachable, to be able to be mentored, and to be able to learn even from the people that don't know anything about insurance. I tell people all the time, man, you're coming to my office, I can learn more from you than you can learn from me. I can tell you that right now. Well, how? Listen, man, you know something that I don't know, and I'm willing to learn from you. And I know something you don't know, but are you willing to learn from me?
Yeah, man. I just want to point out, like, it's amazing. Like, you're a multi-million-dollar producer. And if you think one decision can change your life, like one decision, it just takes one decision. Like, you're one decision away from literally changing your life. You were on the verge of quitting, on the verge of getting fired. You made one decision, and that one decision has led you to now being a multi-million-dollar producer, agency owner, married to a beautiful wife, kids, the house you want to live in from one decision. And I think what a lot of people miss is that it's that simple, even though it's hard. And discipline.
Everything after the decision is hard.
Yeah, but it's your one decision. You're just one decision away. And the other thing is that it really stands out to me is, are you interested or committed? And you were interested when you got into insurance. We're all interested in making money. We're all interested in doing things, but it wasn't until you got committed that the real difference took effect. And you should ask yourself, if you're listening to this in the audience, if you're not getting the results you want, are you interested or are you committed? Because the committed person doesn't quit. The committed person, as Tony Robbins says, becomes resourceful, right? It's not a resource problem. It's a resourcefulness problem. And you have to become resourceful in this business and any of the businesses that we work in to actually win. Man, I just love that. Get me fired up.
That's awesome. So, dude, let's get into the prospecting piece of it, because obviously you don't build the top agency 7 years in a row if you're not out there prospecting. You don't do what you've accomplished. So what are you actually doing from a tactical? What are you coaching people? What were some of even those systems that you did to continuously prospect and hunt for new business?
So prospecting is ultimately number one, right? We need to have clients to sell insurance to. And our business it's either you can go out there and shake hands and meet people, or you can say, you know what, I'm going to save my time and I'm going to buy leads. You can buy opportunity. Mm-hmm. So leads is what really is going to drive, it's going to pull a lot of time back into your pocket so you're able to do more things that's going to make you money. So when it comes to prospecting, it really is two things. Either you're dialing on the phone and you're dialing for dollars and you're setting appointments to book up your week, or you're prospecting with people you know, love, and trust. And hey, this is what I do. This is how I like to help you. Let's set an appointment. And for me, I've always been focused on leads because of the fact that they can buy me time. I don't have to go out there and bug you. Hey, Luke, do you want to sit down? And I know you got some kids. Let's get some insurance for you, buddy. You know, and then you get that friend that just all of a sudden, oh, here comes Dave again. I was always like,
yeah, he's the insurance guy. Yeah,
that guy, right? So when it comes to being able to prospect, we are all a phone call away from our next biggest sale. We are all a phone call away from our next best client. We are, it really is that we're going to get a bunch of no's. Over the phone, it's tough. You got to develop that thick skin because people don't treat people like people over the phone.
So true.
We are just a voice, and people will just come at you from all different angles. And it's a little sad because, you can kind of say, hey, man, these people they're probably not happy on the inside, but it's okay. We're gonna just go ahead and let that roll off my shoulder, and I'm just gonna go to the next, and I'm gonna go to the next, and I'm gonna go to this. My goal is to set 15 appointments, 20 appointments every single week, because if that's gonna give me a certain amount of sits, that's gonna give me a certain amount of sales, and that's gonna give me a certain amount of income. And now the only thing I want you to do is, if I want to make more money, I can either say I'm gonna get in front of more people, or I can get smarter in front of my clients. If I can do more, I can bring more value, more education. and I can do more in the household instead of seeing more people, which ultimately takes more time as well.
So I want to touch on the courage to make the phone calls, but how many phone calls would you, so if I'm a new agent that joins your team or gets into the industry, and in insurance, I've learned this over the years of working with insurance agents now, it's like you can buy leads in the insurance industry from these websites and places that people are actually asking for quotes or asking for, information on insurance, which is awesome. But how many dials should I make to a lead that have purchased? Like, what is your success found? And then how many leads should I be working at a time? Just what would you recommend to me if I was a new insurance agent starting?
I love this question because the fact that a new agent does not know what it takes to become successful, they have no idea. They don't even know what they're capable of, right? And today, if you're brand new, you have your skill level's low, your excitement's high, right? But your skill level's low. You got to do more dials than me to get the same result. Mm-hmm. So if I were to say you're brand new, we need to do 300 dials per day. Whew. That's going to be around 4 to 5 hours of dialing. And why do you want to do 300 dials? Well, there's 2 reasons why. The number 1 reason is you got to get comfortable speaking over the phone and get those jitters off. The number 2 reason is the more you dial, you get better. You have that regimen. You start saying the words over and over again. You sound like a pro on this podcast. I'm assuming it's not your first one.
Yeah.
Right? We got Josh over here.
The first few were definitely able to tell.
Dude, this guy's got the best intro in the biz, we've been told. I mean, he's a radio DJ right here.
I heard it. I was like, wow, I need a voice like that. Yeah. But it takes repetition, right? So when you have a learning curve, when you're brand new, people make the mistakes of saying, you know what, I'm only going to do 100 dials today. I'm only going to do 50 dials today. Well, you're hurting yourself because you're lengthening that learning curve. When you say, hey, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do 300 dials, I'm going to do 400 dials, screw it, I'm going to do 500 dials today. Let's see what happens. You shorten that learning curve, so that learning curve to spike up is so much quicker. So for someone like me, the moment I made that commitment, that's exactly what I did. I said, you know what, I'm going to do 300 dials. Next week, next day, I'm going to do 325. Tomorrow, I'm going to do 350. I'm going to continue to beat myself and see what happens. And the results show that I was able to set more appointments. I got in front of more people. I got more confident. And all of a sudden, the momentum, the inertia of momentum just carried me. I heard this analogy not too long ago that a big jumbo jet, it takes about 80% of the gas just to get off the ground and up into the air. And the rest is just coasting.
Wow.
But the amount of inertia and movements that plane has generated, it moves you. So you want to have a lot of that energy in that first 1, 2 months, 3 months. Leads, listen, man, there's a different types of leads. There's good ones, there's bad ones. I don't believe in a good or a bad lead. I believe there's a good or a bad agent. There's a good or a bad mentality. But if you are calling leads and you're buying leads from a place that you don't know of, or let's say you have no mentorship, man, it's like surviving in the jungle by yourself. You need that mentorship on the leads that you're buying on, somebody that's already doing it, that they're being successful so they can help you, coach you, and help you handle the objections that you're going to run out of money before you figure it out. So you might as well get coaching.
Do you have a script, or is it change per lead? Like, what's your typical script that you would coach people on when calling a cold lead like that?
So, yes, I do have a script, and answer your question. And the script works for every angle. So it doesn't matter if it's a digital marketing lead, a referral, a mortgage protection, a final expense. The script can be, just changed a little bit to fit that lead from wherever it came from. And what it really comes down to is really feeling comfortable with that script, using those words and those words now becoming your words. Because a lot of people are afraid of sounding like a robot. Oh, I don't want to sound like a robot. The truth is, you're better off sounding like a robot than yourself when you're reading a script. Because you don't know if you sound good or bad. You just think you do, but you don't know. And when you sound like a robot, it's monotone. And it's monotone, and you're not putting emotion into it. You're not happy, you're not sad, you're not angry. So that monotone is better off for the client than it is for you. And then all of a sudden, time starts going by. You start using these words more. You start being able to emphasize certain words. You start putting energy in certain words, and all of a sudden it becomes yours, and the rest is history.
It's so true.
It's easy.
Yeah, the framework we teach on is memorize, internalize, personalize. So the first is you memorize frequency, repetition. So that's going to be where you sound maybe more monotone. Then you internalize. You understand why you're saying what you're saying. You have confidence in what you're doing. The jitters go away. And then you personalize, which is now you have an understanding, so you make it your own. You put it into your own words, your own feel. So as you teach reps, like you think about, hey, first phase, memorize. Second phase, internalize. Third phase, personalize from a framework perspective. Talk a little bit about like, how do you keep and attract talent? Because insurance, is like a lot of businesses. You're trying to recruit and create downlines and teams and people underneath you. And you've created a lot of agency owners, right? How do you attract talent and keep them, right? And keep them motivated?
Talent, when you say talent, that's a hard word to really digest, because talent means, hey, you have a skill, but most of the time, you don't have a lot of work ethic. And when I hire anybody, when I'm looking for something, I don't really look for talent. Talent is cool, but it's almost like a showboat. I look for work ethic. What is your attitude like? Are you willing to grind? Because I can train you to become successful, but I can't train work ethic. So when I see somebody, let's say you, Luke, you look like a sharp dude. You look like you're a go-getter.
Thank you.
Let's talk about what you've done, what you've accomplished, and where you want to be. And is the vehicle you're in today going to get you there? And then, we'll have that conversation. Usually people that I attract want some type of my lifestyle, something of what I'm doing. Either the car I'm driving, the watch I'm wearing, the vacations I'm taking. They're saying, man, this guy is around the world. I need to be like this. I need to do what he's doing. Kind of like what attracted me when I started the business. I mean, my manager back then had a Rolex watch, a Mercedes Benz convertible. I was like, that's what I want to be like. So that money, that lifestyle is what attracted me originally. But what kept me here is not the money. It's really the relationships. The change that keeps me growing. I kept growing as a leader.
Yeah, the impact.
As a person, the more impact I make on people. But to answer your question, how do you keep them? That is the real, and it's a tough one right there, because everybody's a little different. And it really comes down to what motivates you. What gets you out of bed? Because some people, they're like, hey, Dave, I don't really care about money. I can make $5,000 a month and I'm solid. And the problem with that is that they can't see past $5,000. They can't see the capabilities. If they make $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, what can you do more? Maybe you don't want to spend money on you because you don't care about the Rolex watches. Things like the car's not that big of a deal. But what if you can take care of your family? What if your mom that's struggling, you can pay her rent? What if your nephew that doesn't have new clothes, you can take care of them? So you start motivating them in that factor, and then all of a sudden they're like, wow, I can donate some money, I can volunteer, I can do more with my money than just spending on me, because there's some people that are like that. Then the other people that want to make the money, they're like, hey, I like the bling, I want to be Grant Cardone rich, right? So and you got that one, you say, okay, great, let's go ahead and how much money do you want to make? Have you ever made that much money in your life? No? Okay, great. Let's cut that in half. How much have you made in your life? Well, I've made $5,000. Okay, this is what it takes to make $5,000. Let's see you do that. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 they make it. All right, this is what we're going to do to make 10. This is what we're going to do to make 15. This is what we're
Dude, you're getting me motivated. I might join your team. Dude, it's so good. I heard this the other day. It really impacted me. It said everybody wants a coach. No one wants a boss. Everybody wants a coach. No one wants a boss. Why? Because the boss nitpicks you and looks for what you're doing wrong. The coach looks inside of you and sees your greatness and tries to pull it out of you. And it's like what you're talking about right there is it's not what motivates David. It's not what motivates and grows David's company. It's what motivates and moves that person. It's seeing the greatness in somebody. And you mentioned that, hey, this person doesn't believe they can even make $5,000, but you see that they can make $30,000. And the number one thing that I would say we've seen over the years that holds people back is they don't believe they're worthy of achieving. They don't believe they actually have the potential or they actually can and deserve to achieve that.
Man.
And it's like when I think about the saying, anything you can do, I can do better. Like that is an incredible principle in life of like, I want to teach my kids that no, you can achieve. Like if that person can do it, of course you can do it too. Like you're worthy of achieving that. And that's what people crave in their life is they want that coach that's going to mentor them, that's going to praise them, that's going to pull out of them that greatness that's inside of them. Everybody wants a coach. Nobody wants a boss. The other thing, man, that you said that gets me going is you don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. So we talk about talent, right? And we talk about bringing people. You don't attract what you want. We all want great talented people. You attract what you are. So if you want to get great people around you, be great.
100%. I like to call myself the hardest working guy in the company. I will work. I'll walk in the morning early and I'll walk out late. And yes, I'll hear from my wife because I'm working a little too much. And that's my signal to, hey, I got to chime out. But that's where I am because I have a mission, and my destiny has to be written. And I want to look back and say, man, that was an awesome ride. And some people out there will look at that amount of work and say, Dave, you work way too hard, man. You need to enjoy some life. And I, and that sometimes that's a little true, right? You say, hey, well, maybe I do, but you know what I do enjoy? My week-long vacation. I don't have to worry about a budget. You know what I do enjoy? Taking my family on a boat that's an 80-foot yacht. And hey, listen, we're going to come on this boat and we're going to have a good time. We're going to have good food. You know what I do enjoy? When I can go to the golf course, have some drinks, smoke a cigar, don't do all this and not have to worry about swiping it because the bills are going to get paid. That's what I enjoy.
Okay, just one thing though. Just invite us next time you do the 80-foot yacht, okay? That's all I'm asking. That's so good.
You're on the next trip.
Luke mentioned. Go ahead.
And it is true that you do have to have that family time and that one-on-one. But what I'm afraid of is enjoying that family time in the living room watching a box. I don't want to be at home enjoying time with my family and we're all watching a movie. I want to be home, taking my kids to the park, taking my kids to the theme park, enjoying events. Because most people think of time off and they just sit at home and
you want experiences. Yeah,
I love that. So Luke mentioned principles. Is there a principle or mantra that you tend to live by?
Yes, there is a couple principles and a couple mantras. The one that always sticks to me is if you're This is the one that I always like because the fact that it changes people's mindset, right? And it says, if you're easy on yourself, life is hard. But if you're hard on yourself, life will be easy.
Wow.
So good.
Because it's like, hey, if I'm hard on myself, I got to wake up early, I got to go to the gym, I got to diet. I can't say yes to that burger. I can't say yes to those fries. Because I'm being hard on myself. You know how many people tell me, Dave, live a little. Like, listen, man, I only got one life, and I want to live it the best I can. So I want to have the best diet I can. And then the next one, the next mantra there's so many of them that I really live by. But I like to ask this question. I like to ask myself this question a lot, and it really pushes a different perspective on me. Do you love to win, or do you hate to lose? And that changes my perspective because, and I always look at it as there's no right or wrong answer. It just depends on how you're motivated. And for me, I hate to lose.
Me too, man. Me too.
And it's because I just have this mindset. If I lose, I didn't do something. I skipped something or I took something lightly. But of course, we all love winning, but the people that say, hey, I love to win, it seems like sometimes those people are okay with losing. And there's nothing wrong with losing, right? There's nothing wrong with it. But when it bothers you,
you're just a loser.
You just hate doing
You're just a loser.
If it bothers you to lose, like that's something.
You'll do everything you can to prevent it.
That is so true because you're ultimately chasing the best version of yourself, and winning is just temporary, right? But when you lose, you realize, man, I failed me. Like I know I can do better than this. Right. And that's why you hate it. Right. Because it's like it's a motivator to show yourself that, hey, you're not living up to your full potential. And I freaking hate that. I want to die making sure that, it's Ed Milet said he envisions heaven you get and you see the person you could become. And his goal is to be the twin of that person. Like, this is the person you could become. This is the full potential that you would have been. His worst scenario, his hell would be to show up and not even recognize that person. But he wants to show up and be an identical twin. And that's just a powerful analogy of, like, that's why you hate to lose, man. Because it's a showcasing of, hey, we're not hitting our full potential. I love it.
Absolutely. Dave, thanks so much for being here. Before we close out, let people know how they can connect with you.
Absolutely. I do have an Instagram, The Real David Alvarado. That's where you'll be able to find me. Same thing on LinkedIn, David Alvarado. And I do have my website, which is the elitefinancialprofessionals.com. And that's where you can find me. You can find a lot of my program, my mentorship. You can also join the team. So absolutely, thank you for that.
Awesome, man. Thanks again. And thank you all so much for listening. You can dive deeper into this episode to get the show notes, as well as those links that David mentioned over at staypaidpodcast.com. And if you enjoyed this episode and want to show your support, there's two ways we ask you to do it. First is to head on over to Apple Podcast or Spotify, drop us a review, along with a comment. We'll read it here on the show. And the best way to show your support is absolutely free. Simply share this episode with a friend or someone in your life that you know needs to hear that. If you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com. And of course, you can find us on social media. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, I'm Luke Acree. David, amazing, man. Love it. Guys, if you're in insurance, check this guy out. Really, if you're in any business, check this guy out. But follow him. You'll get tons of great content. Obviously, tons of motivation. You can tell he motivates me. Here's my action item, though, for you, right? Because we want to boil this down to an action item that you can take
500 phone calls a day.
There you go,
Is that the action? All right.
I was going to say, shorten the learning curve. Like, that's the golden nugget of the episode. I've never heard it said that way before, but it is so true. All of you have something in your business that is not executing at its 100%. And you know, maybe it's your sales calls, maybe it's your presentation skills, maybe it's something operationally. And the only way to get great at it is through repetition, is through getting in and doing it. But most of us, like David said, prolong the learning curve. We torture ourselves. Get in there and shorten the learning curve. So if it's the phone calls, man, make 500 phone calls a day. Make it happen, because the difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every single business is top producers take action. Take action on that today.